Friends, welcome into the Loochador Podcast, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors, as Texas A&M does defeat Florida 34-17. Billy, every week, I'm David, he's Billy. I try to find I don't even try, I usually mix in ways of Academy that actually go hand in hand with my life, right? Mm-hmm. Today, I'm going to do one that is a losing proposition that you're going to make fun of me about.
Oh, wow.
I tried it on the show yesterday on the postgame wrap, and it didn't catch fire like I thought it should.
Okay.
All right? So, and people have been commenting. Some people like it.
Okay.
So how do you say "the" in Spanish? Do you know? I'll help you. It's L. E-L. L. Okay?
Oh, yeah. El Matador.
Correct. El
yeah.
Luchador.
Yeah.
Right? And how do you say...
El Nino.
El Nino. Good fan.
The child.
The child.
The son. What is that? The child or the son?
The kid.
Children.
The son.
Children.
The kid. El Nino. And then what's the acronym for knockout?
The acronym TKO? You mean like?
Or that could be KO.
Yeah.
I see shirts all across America that say LEL-KO, the knockout, because that's what we saw in the fourth quarter. Imagine that when you walk into Academy Sports and Outdoors.
I was about to say, the hell does this have to do with
LCO, L knockout.
Or you can go and get all the gear you need for when you go elk hunting.
Okay. That's actually
and Elko was out hunting
Gators.
Hunting gators.
Yeah.
There you go. Or more likely in this part of the country, well, I don't know. But you could also go gator hunting.
We can go gator
hunting.
Yep.
At Academy for that as well, because you have to be camouflaged to hide from the alligators. I'm joking, guys.
It was...
Some of us have been on a gator hunt.
Some of us have not. You were on one in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting... it was awesome. I loved it. I want to go back. I want to do it again.
Okay. Well,
when I do, I will go to Academy to get my gear. So I can be camouflaged from the alligators.
I'm wearing black camouflage right now. Anyway, let's get into the game yesterday. I think the part that I took away the most from it, Billy, is something that Coach Elko said in the press conference. Everybody had everybody's back. The defense had the offense's back. The offense had the defense's back to start off the game, right? Because you start off, Florida moves down the field 2 out of the first 3 drives, score at ease. So the offense, what do they do after that first touchdown? 2 plays touchdown.
It was kind of like the whole season, all condensed into 4 quarters. Yeah. Where, like you said, like you have the game against Auburn, defense bailed you out. You had the game against Notre Dame, offense bailed you out. This game, it was a little bit of all that in between, and they just like Elko said, they had each other's back. And by the way, David,
yes, sir.
They played a
great defense,
talented team, and a great defense, and they beat them 34-17. They doubled them up, and it felt like, again, they just left a lot of meat on the bone. And I just saw Emmitt Smith's tweet where he was like, "There's still a lot for them to clean up," and he's right. And they're winning. They're beating Florida by 17 points. They're beating them by 3 scores. They beat
Mississippi State 31-9
game against Mississippi State at halftime. They beat them by 4 scores. 23 by 23 points. We talk about Georgia, and then you talk about Alabama due in large part because of what they did to Georgia, and then you see what Auburn should have done to Georgia. Controversy at Jordan-Hare last night. If Jackson Arnold doesn't fumble at the goal line, they're up 17-0. It's probably ball game against that struggling Georgia offense.
Yeah.
So you go back and you look at what this team's done, and again, I said it last week, and we've added to this narrative, which is 1 week to the next. Miami, top 3 team. Number 2, I guess now they'll be Notre Dame. A game later, they play A&M. You have a very direct comparison. Oklahoma, probably going to plummet in the rankings now, but they were up there in the top 5 or 6. you had a direct comparison a week later against that Auburn team. It wasn't much of a comparison other than the margin of victory. But if you watched the games, you knew. And now this game. Okay, so Texas looks better today after what they did at the Cotton Bowl yesterday, right? Well, a week ago, 7 days ago, Florida felt like that game wasn't as close as the score indicated. Florida won that game by 8. They probably felt like they controlled about 55 minutes of that football game. And here comes A&M a week later, one game later, against that same Florida team.
Right.
And yeah, it was a touchdown game in the fourth quarter. But again, A&M played ahead most of that football game, and they pushed away and pulled away for a spread covering with ease win there at the end.
I think one of my big takeaways this season is something we've known about Coach Elko, and we wanted to see more of it last year, but I think personnel and some issues last year that we know. His ability to adjust in-game and at half. I mean, what did Florida do in the second half? Nothing.
And well,
they had 3 points.
Again, after those drives, those first 2 of those first 3, they scored touchdowns, 14 points. They had 3 the rest of the way. And this defense, it's been remarkable of late. Look, DJ Lagway made some incredible throws there early.
And they made some great catches, too.
They made some great catches, and it was like,
Des Ricks was on those guys.
Yeah. So when you're sitting there, normally, if I'm sitting there in an A&M game, I think Aggie fans everywhere will say they feel the same. You're like always on the nervous side, and that's not battered Aggie syndrome. I'm gonna start calling it battered Aggie shit because it's bullshit. But it's not battered Aggie syndrome. That's being a college sports fan. It's being a college football fan. When you know how much hangs on every Saturday, and a team goes right down the field on you at 7-0, and then you answer, and then a few minutes later they go right down the field to tie it at 14. You're going, man, is this going to be a shootout? Is this? But I sat there, even with the mentality that, like, man, we've seen this show before, and just didn't feel like what Florida was doing against this A&M defense with Elko calling the shots over there. I didn't feel like that was sustainable at any point. I didn't think DJ would continue to throw like that. I didn't think they'd continue to make catches like that. I felt like if Elko needed to adjust, he would have. And I also felt like the pressure would ultimately get to DJ in terms of Cassius Howell and company. The actual pass rush would start getting to him more and more. And that's exactly how it played out.
Yeah. It did play out that way. Cassius Howell, the heater he's on this year, which we saw at the end of last year. This is who he is. This is not like he's in a great zone. This is the player he's been since the end of last season.
Yeah, I know. And I always said during the offseason, look at his last 3 games of last year, and he's still playing like that. So what are we? We're 6-0. You go back and look at Cassius Howell's last 9 games. It's probably is good. It's as good I guarantee it's as good a production as any defensive player in this league right now. And as we sit here today, I don't know why Cassius Howell's name wouldn't be in the discussion pretty significantly when you're talking about SEC Defensive Player of the Year. And it's crazy to look at his stat line and he had 1 tackle. It is hilarious for me to see that. And that one was a sack, and he had a PBU and 2 quarterback hurries. That PBU was that close to being a sack, forced fumble, and he got put in a WWE-style chokehold on that pass rush, and that happened to him about 5 other times in that game as well.
Billy, they played 6 this year in the last 3 of last season, right? That is 10 sacks in his last 9 games.
Yeah, and so many. I'd like to see there's multiple. I bet there's at least 3 forced fumbles.
Yep.
There's TFLs. There's pass breakups.
He forced a fumble in the Texas game.
Yep.
And let's see. Let's look at this year. Well, we know
he
what
had
he's
an
done this year.
interception in the USC game.
Yeah.
He almost had an interception against Notre Dame. But anyway, and it's funny. I saw my man last night at the game. I said, dude, we were just talking about you on the radio this week. Landis Durham.
Mm-hmm.
Such a cool kid. Like, I've always he's just first class all the way when he was here, still is. Doing really well up there in Dallas. But Landis, he was joking. He was like, texted me back after he was like, we exchanged numbers. He said, last double-digit sack guy in SEC history at A&M, say my name, like joking around. And I go, and right then Cassius had a sack. And I'm like, he's getting there in about,
couple games.
He might be there in 7 games.
Yeah.
He's doing that well. But, yeah, Landis, I was crazy because I was like, we were literally just talking about you. And here we are talking about him today, too. And it's because Cassius Howell is threatening that double-digit sack. He's threatening to lead the SEC in sacks. He's threatening to lead 2 leagues in sacks, which I'm not sure has ever happened, as we were talking the other day. So, yeah, he's been a star. And he's also been one of those defensive guys that is playing every bit as good or better than we would have ever anticipated. And with Cassius, I think we all anticipated him to be very good, and he's still playing better. Same thing with a guy like York. Same thing with a guy like Will Lee that I felt like they barely targeted.
Yeah.
Same thing with a guy like Albert Regis. But then you see guys that you go, okay, they're even better. Like Dalton Brooks was made the jump we needed to see, right? DJ Hicks finally steps into that starting role. He's been really good. Tyreek Chappelle, we hoped, come back from that injury and look like his former self. He has, and then some. Damian Sanford, most improved player on the A&M roster.
Every
right?
week he's got a highlight that you remember, like a play like, he forced that fumble, he got this pick, he did that.
He's changing games.
Yep.
He had the forced fumble that was a massive play in that game. I see this number right there by the pass breakup. That was a beautiful play for a linebacker to lay out, make that PBU without getting pass interference. That was like a play you'd see a cornerback make. And then again, like a team leading 8 tackles, had a sack. I mean, he didn't have the sack yet at TFL. He's all over the place. And again, this week, it was the forced fumble. The last 2 weeks, he's kind of been everywhere.
Yeah. The other thing that I find very impressive, Billy, is that when you think about the major offensive stars of this team, Marcel, Le'Veon, KC, Mario, there's others, but those are like the ones you think about right away. 3 of those guys at times were in and out of the game yesterday, was banged up.
Yeah, they were banged up. I mean, it was clear. I mean, obviously, Le'Veon left and didn't come back. Obviously, like, I think you're a complete idiot, and I'm talking to people in specific on social media. If you don't realize, I've said the last couple weeks, he's limping off the field. People were trying to make it like it was the nerves and that he throws up. No, he's dealing with lower body stuff. I don't believe it's not that knee that he hurt. He's got a nagging injury that he keeps trying to play through, and hopefully that's the extent of this one. We're sitting here on a Sunday. We'll know more on Monday. But that's what he's been battling through. And he comes out every week and still looks like the best runner on the field.
I mean, he had
And that was with Ball, who's really
5
good.
carries, 46 yards, had that beautiful Le'Veon Moss-esque touchdown.
22-yard touchdown. He's averaging 9 yards a carry, 9.2. And look, I thought Ruben came in and had a workman-like. He had that huge touchdown, first of all. That kind of clinched it. But 17 for 51 against that defense, that's a real solid night. But, God, you have to wonder, what does Le'Veon's stat line look like if he's got 15 carries last night? I got to think that's a 150-yard night.
I agree.
The way he was running and the way he was just seeing it and feeling it. And so that was a tough injury, and you got to have him back. I almost feel like, and I'm, if you're assuming that wasn't like some catastrophic injury, and you never know, but hopefully it didn't seem it, and hopefully it wasn't. But when when you're looking at like they need Le'Veon, and Reuben Owens ran for 140 last week, and like I said, he had a solid night tonight. And we'll talk about Jamari and Morrow here in a minute, but they need Le'Veon.
Yeah,
because he just there when he's in there, their offense goes from great to potentially unstoppable on a given week, but also he's like your bailout guy too. So like if it's not going well, you've got 8 to kind of guide you through, whether it's a few possession stretch,
right.
whether it's early in a game, whether it's late in a game where you want to pound it out. And I want to talk about that drive here in a second too.
Sure. Well, and really, I love what I saw from EJ.
EJ gets downhill.
He does, and I think against that Florida defense, that was what I think they needed at the end of the game, right? Morrow was quick to the hole, but he also was he'd be patient.
There were times, when Amari got a couple carries too, I was thinking the same thing. He'll get downhill, because that's what Le'Veon was doing.
Well, let's go to that comment you had though, Billy, because I think it's really important when we talk about Elko's defense knocking him out in the fourth quarter. The offense did the same thing. That 8-minute drive,
listen,
it was beautiful to watch.
There are 3 kind of themes to the game. Not theme. I don't know if theme's the right word, but there are 3 things that I really want. Like, I would even say 4. Like, I really want to circle and say, look at this. And it was Marcel to Craver on their first snap, and that 2-scored touchdown drive. A&M's first offensive snap of that football game meant so much, I think, to the outcome and to crowd involvement and excitement. When the other team, gets the ball and goes 8 plays, 75 yards in under 4 minutes, that's exactly what you want to do as a visiting underdog in the SEC. Go in there, take the crowd out immediately, and they looked really good against the Aggie defense on that drive. There were very few negative plays there. And then for the very next play to be a deep ball, sets up a touchdown, you got to, if you're Florida, it just brought that whole crowd back into it and said, no, trust us, guys. It is going to be one of those nights at Kyle. Don't sweat that last possession. That was significant. I thought obviously we talked a lot about the defense, and we'll get back to it. And then just to me, this was a physical test. This was grown man football. We knew it coming in. I thought Florida was one of these teams, David, that matched up well with A&M at the line of scrimmage. I like the Aggie O-line against anybody. But I just felt like physically, and I don't know if you saw those guys in warm-ups or after the game, that is a massive offensive line. They're all so tall. They've got a future high-round draft pick up there. Ball's an NFL running back. And I'm going, not to mention the talent they've got at receiver. But to me, this was a game where it's like, Florida should probably come in here and test your physicality. They should test your SEC like wherewithal. But that's not what it is. It's A&M is going to test you. So if you're Jeff Lebby and you walk in here and you want to spread the field and go with that finesse crap, but try to run out of it, spread you out, and then you're trying to be cute and tough at the same time. No. Your man card's getting checked by A&M. It's not the other way around. Okay, so if you're Auburn and you want to play a defensive struggle, okay, we'll do that. If it's Mississippi State and they want to, okay. So A&M, okay, we'll see who can last. We'll see who can hold out. We'll see who can run for 300. And it's A&M 31-8. But I thought this was their toughest one in that regard, because I thought, from a recruiting standpoint, from an NFL players on the field standpoint, from just a raw talent standpoint, Florida was best equipped to test A&M in the trenches. equal to or better than Notre Dame. Probably better if you talk about just the defensive front. Notre Dame's a better team. They would beat Florida, I think, kind of like A&M did fairly handily. But so you go through that and you say, all right, well, how'd that work out for them? Well, they gave up 31, and they A&M ran for another, 2 total rushing? 183.
Yeah, 183. There you go.
Almost 200. So 183, 207 against Auburn, 299 against Mississippi State. You look at the difference in rushing yards, it's extreme in 3 SEC games. Rushing yards, gain versus allowed, and third downs through 3 games, which is we all saw it, the best rate through 3 SEC games in the last 30 years of the league. Nuño, that's better than those peak Nick Saban Alabama defenses. It's better than anything Kirby and Georgia have put on the field. It's remarkable what they've done on third down through 3 games, and it's also it's just one step below that of how they've won the rushing battle. And then if you want to mix in sacks allowed and TFLs allowed, how they've won the line of scrimmage. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at tackles for loss. I know you know the number, right? Texas A&M 6 with 3 sacks. Florida, no sacks. They didn't make a single tackle behind the line of scrimmage. Did you see what they did to Arch Manning in Texas last week? I did. Okay. Again, that is the difference between an offensive line that returns what A&M returned versus one that loses 4 starters. Now, we're going to have this discussion probably about the A&M O-line next year, but the difference is I'd be willing to bet quite a bit of money that Mike Elko and co will spend quite a bit of money and go find a couple in the portal, because you can't go in and just go, hey, losing that much. Like, you can't fool yourself into thinking experience doesn't matter on the O-line. And this group, they're a group of 5 ass kickers right now. And that's what they've done. And then my fourth and final thing about it was Marcel Reed. Like, let's talk. And look, everyone's all, and by the way, this isn't a Marcel Reed thing. This is a quarterback thing. Everyone's going to always go, well, what about quarterback did this wrong or he did that wrong? So he should have never thrown that pick. You're in field goal range. That puts you up 10 there in that moment, early fourth quarter. You needed it. You had to have it. But Marcel Reed also 16 of 26, 234, the touchdown pass, ran for a touchdown. Again, just really managed that game. He sits like this. Mm-hmm. But he's not unemotional, but he's just not phased. There's a big difference between being unemotional and unfazed. Sure. And Marcel Reed is emotional. Players feed off his energy. He's not emotional, energetic, but he's unfazed by, okay, Florida, you go down the field and score, it's fine. Boom. Okay, now we're going to give you the lead. Okay, second half, passing game's not working as well as it was earlier in the game. We're kind of out of rhythm. Okay, it's fine. Like, we'll make a play or two to win this football game. And that's what he did. And what he did this week is he made the mistake he hasn't been making. And then they get the ball back and he engineers a really nice drive. And by the way, it's significant. People can say what they want. And Lagway, by the way, was throwing dimes in the early going. And his numbers, look actually a little better. He's got 2 touchdowns. He doesn't throw a pick, a few more yards. But if you watch that game, no one in the world would have said that Marcel Reed wasn't the better quarterback on Saturday night. And I think that was important for just for the narrative. Like, everyone knows that there was a different, you're just like one tick away from Lagway being the Aggie quarterback here at Kyle Field. The 5-star, the name, the exposure. And I just think it mattered. I just think Marcel Reed just keeps proving himself, and without trying to, measuring himself up against certain doubters, certain quarterbacks, certain, proving things against certain skeptics and things like that. And no, I'm not talking about SEC Mike. I'm talking about in general. I think and so out-dueling Lagway and coming out the victor is really significant. And go ahead, but don't let us finish this without talking about that drive either.
Well, okay. Let's do this, and then we'll get to the drive. Dallas Wilson against Texas, 6 catches, 111 yards. I know he had that touchdown, but if you look at his numbers, 3 catches, 20 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing that we circled heading into this game. You got to be careful what Dallas Wilson does to you. And Brown was the one who led them with 6 catches, 77 yards. He had that 31-yard catch.
Yep,
but
I'll take it.
When you limit a 6'3", 215, 5-star threat like Dallas Wilson to 3 catches and 20 yards, especially when he got his yards early, right? He got those catches early on. Not only the adjustments, just they took out a phase of what Florida wanted to do.
And they did that with Cam Coleman. I wouldn't say they did other than one drive. They did it to the Mississippi State running game and Fluff Bothwell. They did it with those 2 dangerous Mississippi State receivers.
They did it with Jaden Ball, basically, too.
They did it with Ball, for sure. Like
3.6 yards a carry.
Absolutely, they did it with him. What did he do to Texas last week?
120 was it?
Yeah, I think
107.
27 carries for 107 yards. Yeah, and they did it to a degree with Jeremiah Love. Now they didn't do what Miami did. Well, that was because
they were
Marcus Freeman's probably still kicking himself for only giving it to him 8 times in that game. But they held Love to 24 carries for 93 yards. That's good. I'm not saying it's great. That's good against that guy at home.
He was on everybody's Heisman list before the season started.
So good.
Yeah.
So, but now what they've done with Dallas Wilson and what they did with Cam Coleman, that's different. And yeah, they're taking out guys, best players. We talked about how ridiculous they've been on 3rd down. Again, we said going into this week, A&M is one of those top 5 teams, David. We're one of those contenders that doesn't really have a weakness.
Yeah.
They had penalties. Well, guess what? 2 this week?
3.
The Cabo fund's working. But they don't really have a weakness. You know, you can't say, well, they can't run the ball. Well, their quarterback's an issue. Or they don't have playmaking receivers. They don't have speed. Or they don't have an elite running back or a stable. Or their O-line's inexperienced. Or their D-line or linebacker. Like, where is... They're not good against the pass. Or they don't get off the field on 3rd down. Or they get gashed in the running game. Like, what do you say about this team right now? They genuinely don't have a weakness. I'm not saying they're great at everything.
They're really good.
But they're really good at almost everything.
They're great at 3rd down.
They're not bad. Yeah. I think they're great at running the football.
Yeah.
They're not bad at anything. They're great at having 2 of the best receivers in the Southeastern Conference, which, you know, Ryan Williams didn't catch a pass yesterday. So you got to understand that there are games where these guys aren't going to light up the stat sheet. But, you know, when Concepcion, you know, again, 4 passes for 46 yards, that's a quiet night against a really good SEC defense, probably a top 5 SEC defense. Craver, obviously, that big catch early. But what did I keep saying, Nuño? What have I kept saying about there's a certain position? I said there's going to be a game where they do some real damage, where that's the thrust of the passing game. That is where the production lies. There's going to be a game where the tight ends do that.
Was it 6 tight ends caught a pass?
7.
7.
Amari,
8, 7 catches for tight ends.
Yeah, 8. You said 7? It's 8.
Amari, yeah.
Nyblack with 2 for 19. Theo with 3 for 24. And Burkitcher with 3 for 35. And Nate, you watch a couple of their touchdowns, and he's mauling dudes.
Yeah.
The great block on the first one by Marcel, and then the last one by Ruben.
Could have been 1 extra catch, too.
The drop?
Yeah, the drop. Which it was a little behind him, but
he's going to catch that.
Yeah, he's going to catch that.
What a great portal addition he is. So, with that said, and I'm going to say this too. There was a time during that game where I was like, I felt like we were getting in a little rut of run on first down for 2 yards. Like, I was like, throw it on first down. And sure enough, right when I was getting frustrated at it, first down throw to Theo, 10 yards. First down throw, I forget to who, set like 6, 7, 8, I think 7 yards. And then they get in those first downs, and that's what got them going. And I think Morrow, by the way, we can't go through this without talking about Chamorro and Morrow. That was the other thing I was saying, and about that point was I want to see some more of 23. Yeah, I know he only had like 7 yards rushing or whatever, but that touchdown.
Yeah.
He had the big run last week. You hear Elko keep saying, and this is a guy that I've talked about since the minute, really, they signed him to the minute he got here. And he's special. He really is. And I think the more we see him, the more people are going to realize that. And I did want I was kind of sitting there going, does he give you a little more burst here in this moment? But you know what I'll say about the offense, Dave? Their first touchdown drive, right? You know what it was?
It was a pass and a Le'Veon run?
Yeah. It was
Or a Marcel run.
It was 2 plays, right, for the length of the field, 75 yards, whatever it was. Okay, now, you know what their last touchdown drive was?
An 8-minute, 34-second slow,
12 plays. 12 plays. Is that serious? It's crazy to me. 8 minutes, 50 yards. And capped it off. How many third down conversions? They have at least 2, probably 3. There's 3rd and 1. There's 3rd and 4. There's 3rd and 2 for the touchdown. 3 third downs. Notice it was 3rd and 1, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2. All makeable, all manageable. But, yeah, I mean, 12 plays to go 50 yards and chew up 8 minutes. That's almost unheard of to chew up more than half a quarter going 50 yards.
Yep.
And they cashed it in to go, go up 31-17 and end the game. That was big. You literally get the ball up 7. You get the ball up 7 with almost 13 minutes left. That's anyone's ball game. You have to, And by the way, that came on the heels of Napier being a complete buffoon. He was a complete buffoon. If I was a Florida fan, I'd be so pissed. And I don't think they would have won the game. But you're a buffoon. What he did with that timeout against Texas that gave them a chance to win, to go for it on 4th down there, on that 4th and 6 from midfield, you're down 7. Your defense had settled down. I mean, you have to have liked to say, punt it. I'll take my chances putting this A&M offense that hasn't. What did they have at that point? It was 24-17. The Aggies had scored 3 points in the second half, just like Florida. It's a defensive struggle at that point. A&M's without Moss. You got receivers that are kind of coming on and off the field. They're 2 playmakers. Punt it. Make A&M go 60 yards to even get in field goal range with your kicker that had missed one earlier.
And their punter was their best player yesterday.
Yeah. Or make them go, 85, 90 yards for a touchdown. And feel good about your chances of making them not do that. Instead, he goes for it, which puts you within 20 yards of a back-breaking field goal to go up 10. Much less, So I love the fact that you want to play stupid. You know what do they say? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's what happened.
All right, so going on the road now for a month, right? Everybody says defense travels. I think it travels. The last time A&M went on the road, it was a shootout against Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, Arkansas.
They love a shootout.
Then you got Baton Rouge. I don't know if they're capable of a shootout, but you know how hard it is to win there.
Yep.
And then bye week, Missouri. You got a lot of stuff about that really could define the season because Coach Elko said yesterday in the press conference, it's the middle of the year that'll define this season. And half the middle of the year is all on the road.
You needed to win these 3 home games because of that. You don't think as a coach, as a player, I don't even think you should as a fan. You don't think about having a mulligan because you don't. Because as soon as you think you do, your season's over. But you needed to. You needed to win every home game you play this year, and that includes South Carolina. You need to win these home games because the road schedule is that tough. Now you're 1-0 away from Kyle Field. Okay. And you got some tough tests. I watched that whole Missouri Alabama game yesterday. Good. I mean, the defense is good. They fit. Yeah, their defense is good. They're going to play so up, and now that they came so close against Bama, it's just going to make them even more.
Yep.
When A&M goes in there, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're coming off a bye then too, which is weird that they just came off a bye and then they do it before A&M. So that's a tough one. We know what Baton Rouge is. I don't think that team's that good, but we know what Baton Rouge is for Texas A&M. So you got to overcome that. But Mike Elko and these guys have overcome a lot already. They've already done a lot of things that, hadn't been the case around here for far too long. So from that standpoint, I feel a lot better about it. But it's a tough 3-game road trip. It's exactly why you had to win these 3 at home. I said before the stretch, I know Florida's talented. I know Mississippi State's improved, and I know Auburn is talented. You had to sweep these home games. You did. So you didn't give back that Notre Dame win by losing at Kyle Field, and that's what you had to do, and they did it. They did exactly what they had to do, and they did it in a bunch of different ways. It gets more and more impressive, and I'll tell you this. I had people commenting or texting me, and yes, thank you for those that came up and asked if I was getting texts during the game. Of course, again, the list has grown of people that are just going to be muted and blocked. Wanting to rip on the offense and like play calling, or we're going too conservative. Let me say something. I understand we always want more from the play caller. We always want more from the quarterback. You see this team's numbers now in the red zone, and they did it again this week. Their ability to punch in scores. Miami scored 27. They're ranked number 2, right? They scored 27 against LSU. A&M scored 34. Boy, no, there's a story behind this. And LSU scored 20, and A&M scored 34. And Texas scored 21, and A&M scored 34. Now,
South Florida scored 18.
18. Now, let me say this. LSU didn't score 20. They scored 13.
That's right.
And they got to 13 with 4 picks, because I'm not counting the 5th one because it was a pick 6. The other 4 picks and the field position that came with that and everything, they scored 13 points. A&M went 34. Now, we're not comparing ourselves to LSU's offense because that would not be a good thing. Texas and Arch Manning and those weapons, they scored 21. But I think they scored 12 of those very late. I think it was 9 points they were sitting on. And they scored very late to even get to 21. And I'm not saying that Florida was backed off and playing prevent, but they were trying to not let Texas score quickly and giving up swaths of yardage there. They struggled to get to 21 and had to rally. Okay, that was a week ago. And then Miami, again, who I think we say they have a really good O-line.
Yeah.
They have a great college quarterback. They've got weapons. Miami scored 27. Miami was sitting at 13 points.
Entering the 4th, right?
5 minutes into the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So to score 34 last night against this defense is very, very good. And I don't care how you got there. You didn't have, did they have they had one short field, I think, the whole game? A&M scores are 75 yards, 81 yards, 75 yards. They had a field goal drive of only 21. And then they had the 50-yard 8-minute drive. So their 2 field goal drives were short ones. Mm-hmm. But their 4 touchdown drives were long drives. So I think it was a very productive night for the A&M offense against. I don't listen. Did you see Auburn's defense yesterday? I don't know. Outside of Texas, I don't think they're playing. I probably right now in my head, if I'm watching the football, I go, Texas and Missouri are probably the two best defenses A&M is going to play, and Florida and Auburn might be right after those. Yeah. And last Saturday, Florida's defense was better than Texas 7 days ago. So I don't even know why I'm saying that, to be honest with you.
Florida's given up 19.8 points per game.
And again, I just broke down the how they got to those 19. They're tough. They're tough to score on. Let's put it that way. They're tough to score on, and Texas A&M scored 34 offensive points.
And by the way, they give up, and this is including A&M stats now, so it's gone up a little bit, but they give up 113 yards rushing a game.
A&M ran for 180.
Yeah, so
and
again, a little bit.
Going into that game, what were they sitting at? Probably just over 100.
Yeah. All right, Billy, let's kind of look around college football. We've got Indiana looking like a legitimate threat. You've got Missouri, who I know loses to Bama, but that's a game where I'm like, I gained a lot of respect for that defense and how hard that road game is going to be.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah, of course.
It looks good.
But we don't know about Bama yet, right?
We said the same thing about Vandy last week because of how they looked in a loss to Bama. I think Bama's a little overrated. Overrated by this. Just no one will you'll just immediately say Alabama when you say who looks like the best team in the SEC. Almost anyone that covers this league would say that just without hesitation. Yep. Bama. People around the country, they look like a juggernaut. Man, there's a world where they could have lost each of their last 3 games. And there's credit for winning, but when Florida State looks like they do, and I mean, Norvell and Franklin, and what's happened to James Franklin and Jay Norvell in the last 3 weeks, it's crazy how fast they've gone from title contender to what their fan bases are just sitting them on the hottest of hot seats right now. So that loss to Florida State continues to age very poorly for Bama. And, you know, had Diego Pavia been more careful with the football,
the game could be different.
You know, Missouri caught a bad break early, right, in that game. Damn. I don't know. I think Bama's good, but I don't think I think people are starting to get a lot more credit for how they look against Alabama. With that said, I did like Mizzou. I did think Mizzou had a great showing for themselves. But man, you have Indiana. I picked them to win on my moving goalpost picks, and then by Friday I was like, but I think they're going to cover. Signetti, people just keep clowning him and calling him out about big games. He's like, the guy hasn't even been at this level but for a year. And I'm sorry that Ohio State and Notre Dame kicked their butts, but man, what he's done is incredible. It's almost like Bill Snyder, Kansas State levels.
Yeah.
And now he did it over the long haul, but like this is that's what it's reminding me of. Like that's how amazing a coach can quickly turn around Indiana football. The Indiana Hoosiers, how quickly he's done that. And they went up there, and that is now the most impressive win of the season. It has pushed past A&M winning at Notre Dame. I think that is now number 2 on most impressive win of the year for a team. For Indiana to go into Eugene, Oregon, and really beat up the Ducks.
Yeah.
To me, that's number 1. A&M and South Bend's number 2. So, yeah, man, Indiana's they're a legit. I'm going to say what I shouldn't. I don't think they're a national title team.
Legit
but
contender.
They deserve to be called a legit contender for it. And they're a team that I don't think anybody would line up and want to play right now. And since when has anyone ever thought you'd say that about Indiana Hoosier football? So that's the story of the weekend.
I think Arch looked kind of good.
He looked very good.
Yeah.
He looked okay. So I wasn't going to give him that Florida game and say, oh, it's just the O-line. The O-line was bad. But when when you follow that up and you play against a really good OU front, I did say their back end, I think, is not good.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that front and that pressure, and Arch did a nice job of feeling it, stepping up, stepping around it. He had real good pocket presence, I thought, in that game.
They ran well, too.
Hey, welcome to Texas A&M football. Helps your quarterback and your offense when you can run the ball well. It also helps your offensive line pass block because you don't know what's coming every play. So, but I thought Arch, look, that was a big win for him and for Sark in Texas. Brent Venables, you suck in the Red River rivalry. You absolutely
scored a touchdown.
suck. 3 or 4 years?
Yeah.
And that is 3 or 4 years they haven't scored a touchdown against Texas. You can't do that against a rival. And look, if there's a couple things I've been, not a couple, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been right about a lot. And a lot of you people hate to hear that, but it's true. So you're going to sit there, you're going to listen to this when I say, I told you about LSU, told you about Nussmeier, I told you about the Texas O-line and a learning curve for Arch. The good news for you is that's what we're seeing. I told you about replacing a lot at Texas, and it wasn't going to happen overnight. There was going to be some fall off. I told you about South Carolina, and I thought they were overhyped as well. And the other team I told you about was Chet Venables in Oklahoma and Mateer. I just thought there was too much. And what did I say about Mateer after the Michigan game? Dude is lucky he didn't throw 3 interceptions in that game. Michigan dropped a couple right in their hands, and I think he threw 1. Texas did not drop them. He will throw you the football. And Texas knew that, and they're a great defensive team, and he threw them the football. It had nothing to do with his hand. Those were bad decisions. His first interception, he had a guy, Satania was wide open up the seam. That last play before half, that's malpractice.
You don't throw that.
It's malpractice by Venables and Mateer. That is, when people were hyping him up for the Heisman Trophy, I just didn't see it. And I think I said, I could understand you saying he's a candidate. The other day we said that. But the way he played is how he plays. That was not due to the hand. The other thing I said that I will give him a little bit of a mulligan on, but it was why if you don't practice, and I don't know how much he practiced, if you don't practice, you're not going to, at that position, any position, but especially quarterback, you're not going to play well against a great college defense. You're just not.
Yeah.
And you're probably not going to play well against really any defense in the SEC. So OU's in trouble. I know they've lost 1 game, but look at their schedule. Oklahoma's in trouble, Dave.
Let's see what they have here.
Read them in order.
Yep.
And you tell me what you think.
Okay. So now they go to South Carolina. 11:45 game, by the way. Not a night game.
At least it's not night, but still tough.
Versus Ole Miss.
Yeah.
At Tennessee.
Yep. Rocky Top.
At Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They play Missouri and LSU to close out the year.
There's not a guaranteed win on the rest of their schedule. And I think there's a lot of games that are below a coin flip for them. When you think of Knoxville, in Tuscaloosa, where they want revenge, you looked at how Missouri played this past week.
Mm-hmm.
You think of, LSU, but still, it's LSU. There's not a game on there. And by the way, Ole Miss, I'm watching you. Might be a little suspect.
Well, that Washington State game, for sure.
College football is it's really getting interesting. Texas Tech's going to roll. You saw that again last night. But, in that horrific Big 12, Iowa State got a number by their name. They just lost to Colorado.
They rushed the field.
It's college football this year is there for the taking for anybody. I know, look, Ohio State looks like the best. But I'm telling you, it's there for anyone. Like, if you just said, we're going to put Ohio State in the national title game, which I think is a wild exaggeration right now, right? But if you just told me that, okay, they're the best, let's put them in the title game. How many teams, David, would feel like they had a chance to be the team lining up opposite the Buckeyes in January? Is it a dozen? Is it?
Bama,
probably
Indiana, A&M,
Miami
for sure.
Ole Miss is going to feel that way.
Georgia's going to
feel that way.
Texas Tech feels that way.
Tech. That's Oregon.
Oregon
They're
still.
They're not gone.
Not Penn State.
Yeah, not Penn State. You're already up to 8.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who else. Nobody else in the Big 12.
Oklahoma might still feel that way today.
I'm out. They're out. I'm thinking what I feel like.
Okay.
Who I think should
Gotcha.
feel that way. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yeah.
They got a big one. So let's just say this. USC. And I don't think USC's in it, but if you're them,
You still think it's
and the way you just beat Michigan and you're looking and you're going to, okay, let's just say this. 9, the winner of USC Notre Dame. So now you're at 9. I'm telling you, you know who else will feel that way?
LSU.
They shouldn't, but you know who would? Surprise, like they should be sitting there feeling Georgia Tech. And I'm not saying again, like they're not, but if you're Georgia Tech and you're like, we're going to win our games and play for the ACC title. And if Auburn gave Georgia all they can handle, Haynes King and that crew, Brent Key and them might be going, we'll beat Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We should have beat them last year. So why wouldn't they feel that way too? So there's a lot. You're double-digit teams that think we can go line up and end up at the end of this thing, because the reality is nobody's invincible and you can. But go back to A&M, they're not invincible. We've seen that at different times in all 4 of these, Power 4 wins. But they don't have the weaknesses that a lot of these teams do.
Yep.
They just don't. They're a well-constructed team. They're a well-rounded team, and they are a very well-coached team. And now, just with each passing week, Nuño, they become a more confident and more proven and battle-tested team. People should start talking a lot more about this squad.
Thank you, Billy.
All right, buddy.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Live.